We explain the impact of the English Civil Wars and the Glorious Revolution on Ireland. After the failure of the uprising at Ulster, the English treaty with the Spanish in 1604 that left the Irish without Catholic support, and the flight of the Earls, Protestantism began slowly moving throughout Ireland, aided by the royal promise of kings and queens for land and titles. Those titles came from confiscated monasteries or disloyal Catholic lords. Also, the English monarchs were encouraging Scottish Presbyterians to migrate to the plantations and manors of Ireland. The clans were quickly losing their traditional power. The Catholic landowners were angered for being left out of government decisions, as was decided by James I after the failed gunpowder plot. James and his son Charles would promise rights to Catholics for higher taxes. During the Bishops' War in Scotland that led to the War of Three Kingdoms, Charles I failed to get Parliament to send an army, because they feared Charles's prayer and lifestyles were far too Catholic. Irish Catholic landowners decided to take Ireland back for the Catholics, or at least be allowed to worship freely. So in 1641 they launched the national uprising through the leadership of the old clans like the O'Neills. The original goal of the rebellion was to seize Castle and the centres of power with very little bloodshed, but it wasn't to be. The Irish peasants used this rebellion to unleash their anger on the Protestants. And in return, the Protestants used this as the moment to also unleash their anger and mistrust at their Catholic neighbours. The Scottish conventional military force landed to protect the Protestants, joining English forces in killing Catholic prisoners and the heads of the clans. In one county, nearly 300 MacDonald women were thrown over the cliffs to their death. The rebels claimed to be rebelling in the name of King Charles, which didn't help the mistrust of Charles back in England, and would eventually lead to his execution, despite trying to put down their rebellion. The English left a stalemate in 1642 to go fight the English Civil War, but the killing on both sides continued. When Cromwell had secured his power, he turned back his puritanical anger on Ireland. Following the execution of Charles I, the Royalist Cavaliers signed a peace treaty with the Irish Confederation, the Irish Catholic lords who still controlled 66% of Ireland. They agreed that their common enemy was now to be Oliver Cromwell. Cromwell caught wind of the alliance and landed 6,000 troops and a massive artillery. They marched on the Confederacy War Council at Drogheda. He demanded surrender from English leader Arthur Aston, who refused. On September 11, 1649, Cromwell's new model army smashed through the walls of Drogheda and spent the night killing almost 4,000 combatants and civilians. Among the atrocities ordered by Cromwell was the killing of English POWs without trial and burning people alive in St. Peter's Church. They even beat Arthur Aston to death with his own wooden leg. They repeated these actions in other towns across Ireland. After this, Catholics lost all power in the country and estates were given to English soldiers. Later, the Irish would back James II in the Glorious Revolution and lose the rights to education, voting, and guns as well.